Now I want to go to Freedom Caucus member, Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs. And Congressman, first let me get your reaction on this ruling on sanctuary cities and Jeff Sessions withholding those block grants.
Well, I think it was probably expected that in a liberal circuit court, you're going to see this type of ruling, and it's a temporary ruling. It's an injunction. And I think, though, that if something like this were to go forward, I think they would bring a lot of dismay to people around the country. Courts have already said states can intercede in enforcing federal immigration laws, and et cetera. And so it's really a judge here, I think, that's kind of taking a step back. I hope that he doesn't issue a permanent injunction going forward, because I think that the executive branch, this is perfectly within their realm of authority. We're talking specifically about the portions of the statute that an ordinance that prohibits Chicago from releasing people back on the streets. We want them, if they're there illegally, we want them brought to ICE, and that's what American people want.
Congressman, though, I want to ask you, because before this breaking news, the main conversation, tax reform. President Trump getting cozy with Democrats, in part because GOP leadership couldn't deliver a win on what most folks thought was low-hanging fruit on Obamacare repeal and or replace. Very few, they're saying that Republicans have lost faith in things like supply-side economics, and it's the Freedom Caucus that's in the way. I want to note to the audience, when the initial vote for Hurricane Harvey relief was put out there to Congress, it was 419 to 3. You were one of the three. Now, knowing on your tombstone is going to be like the last man who believed in fiscal conservatism, but at what cost to you and what cost to the American public?
Well, I think that if you really believe that the American people is overtaxed, like I do, you reduce the tax burden. And if you have to balance it out, if you're looking a way to balance it out, you reduce the size of the federal government spending. And we're not getting enough of that. What we're getting a lot of is, hey, we're going to fiddle around here. Maybe we're not going to believe or execute on the beliefs that we've always professed. I'm not like that. I believe that in America, I believe that when we reduce taxes, it stimulates the economic activity, which actually, as we saw in the early 80s in the Reagan tax cuts, what we saw is we saw economic stimulus which produced record revenues. The reason that you had increased deficit is that you increased your spending and there was no fiscal restraint. That's what we need, and we need to be addressing that. And I think that we can put together good tax reform. We have to put together a good tax reform package, or else Republicans aren't going to be governing much longer.